Hello, my amazing children. This is Grandma Carla, and I am here to read for you The Storm by Cynthia. Rylant. This is one of our Lighthouse family stories, and we're on chapter 3. The name of chapter 3 is Comfort. When Sebald next awoke, he wondered if perhaps the storm had been just a dream, for he found himself in a little wooden bed under a cheerful gingham quilt, and he was no longer in the sea, but looking out at the sea through a small window by his side. A daisy stood in a jar on the windowsill. Sebald tapped his head to be sure that he wasn't dreaming, and just as he was about to try his legs on the shiny wooden floor, the door to his room opened and in stepped a cat. She was smiling and had an apron tied around her waist. In her hands was a tray of tea and biscuits. "Good morning," she said, setting the tray on the table beside the bed. "I hoped you might be awake. I am Pandora." Still unsure whether he was dreaming, Sebald extended his paw to shake hers. "And I am Sebald," he said. "At least I think I am." Pandora smiled. "You have had a rather bad journey," she said. "I thought it was my last," answered Sebald. Pandora poured him a cup of tea, which smelled like flowers. Sebald drank it gratefully. "Thank you," he said. "May I have more? I am so thirsty." Pandora nodded and poured another cup. "All that salt water," she said. "I don't know how I am alive," said Sebald. "Nor do I," said Pandora. "When I found you on the shore 3 days ago, I was certain you were dead." "I've been here 3 days?" exclaimed Sebald. "Yes," Pandora smiled, "sleeping like a baby." Sebald shook his head. "I remember only going under," he said. "My boat, have you seen her?" "Not yet," said Pandora, "but it may be farther down the shore. When you are able to walk, we shall go search." "Able to walk?" asked Sebald. "Your leg," said Pandora. Sebald drew back the gingham quilt. With surprise, he saw that his left leg was bandaged and splinted knee to foot. "Heavens," he said, "but there is no pain. Shouldn't I be suffering?" Pandora smiled with pleasure. "I am something of a doctor, I suppose," she said. "I have studied plants and learned those that heal. I wrapped your leg in plantain leaves to relieve the swelling, and the splint will prevent further injury." "Amazing," said Sebald. Pandora blushed with pride. "And are you alone here?" said Sebald. Sipping his tea, Pandora had poured herself a cup. "Yes, all alone," she said, "although I do have friends who stop by this island once in a while. In a very long while, I should say. They are seasonal." "Seasonal?" said Sebald. "They migrate," said Pandora, "so I see them only in spring and fall, as they make their way north or south. There's Atoll, the gray whale." "You know a whale personally?" asked Sebald. "Oh, yes," said Pandora. "Whales are very sociable once you break the ice. Ask them about their children and they'll go on forever. There's also Henry, the tern," she continued. "He's usually so pressed for time he doesn't even land. He simply flutters above my head and asks after my health, my garden, and so forth. Then he's off. He flies 6,000 miles every year." "Really?" said Sebald. "Yes," said Pandora. "He's quite fit." "But you are alone nearly always?" asked Sebald. "Nearly always," said Pandora. Sebald shook his head. "I never thought I would meet someone else like me," he said. "Like you?" asked Pandora. "One who loves the solitary life," said Sebald. "I am nearly always at sea, nearly always alone, like you." Pandora smiled and thought for a moment. "I'm not sure I love the solitary life," she said finally. "I simply live it." "And why?" asked Sebald. "To save lives," said Pandora, "like yours." And she poured him another cup of tea. So let's look at our pictures. Okay, so here, remember it was named Comfort. There's a picture of the lighthouse. And there was the sun coming out after the storm. And there's Pandora delivering some tea to Siebold. And there's Siebold getting his first cup of tea and meeting Pandora. And then there's another picture of the lighthouse. That is the end of chapter 3. And this is Grandma Carla, and I love you.